Welcome to another video from Dr. Lock. Today I thought we'd have a look at three of the most common small key machines used in the back of the vehicles or used by many locksmiths or mobile locksmiths or perhaps just your local key cutter. So we're going to go through and check out the specs on all three. We've done reviews on the first one, the XC007 and the GL320, but today we've got the XC009, so it'd be nice to compare them all and see how we go.
Okay, so first key machine we're going to look at is the GL320L. Now the actual size on this, let's go over that. So if I'm going to wind the carriage all the way to the left, because you want to know how much room you're going to need to actually fit it in, I'm going to say you're going to need about 320, just give me a little bit of room that way. So 320 left to right, looking from this side, let's go with about 220 just to make sure. And maximum height, I've got about 240, and that's in mil, okay? Alright, so size, power. Now this machine comes in 240 volt. This is 240 volt, has the standard 3-prong plug there. It also comes in a 12 volt configuration as well. This one on the front here has a little breaker, little button on the front. The 12 volt ones I don't think do, so that's interesting. You've got 4-way jaws on this, so if I can put it here, so you simply loosen off the jaws, lift them up here, and you can just rotate them around as you need. So 4-way jaws. Carrage Travel. Okay, so from this side here, if we were to look at this point here and rotate it all the way around anti-clockwise, you get 3/4 of a turn. 3/4 of the turn, and the whole carriage has turned from left to right. Carriage drive, it's driven by this gear right here, so that's not too bad. Carriage spacing. Let's have a look here. Between the two jaws, we've got about 97 millimeters, so that's not too bad as well. Shoulder stop is controlled over here, where you just flick it up, then you flick it down as needed. You have the slots here along the sides of the jaws as well. So we've got 3 on this side, 1 on this side, 1 on this side, and 1 on this side. They work as tip stop or alignment stops for the key. So not only do you have shoulder guide, you have these grooves to be able to align your key with as well. Battery duration. Now this model does come out with a battery. This one is of course a 240 volt, so there's no battery. You can buy the 12 volt one and you can couple it up with your own battery power pack if you wish. There is another model where the battery is situated underneath here and it's fitted underneath here. Roughly, I've been told you get about 50 keys out of it. We haven't had a lot of feedback on that, so not exactly sure on how long that battery will last, but yeah, you can get a battery on this particular model. It's a little bit more expensive, but it generally comes in 12 or 24 volts. Rough cost of this is about $1,100 for this machine. Bench mounting, there is no bench mounting for this one here. You've just got the rubber feet, so you actually have to come up with your own bench mounting for that, which is generally not a big process. One other thing to note here is that you do have the buffing wheel on the right hand side. None of the other key machines have that. You do have the blade where it's not just a right angle V where you can only go go right to left. This one you can actually move backwards and forwards just a little bit. So you would put your key in, you would start there on the right, work your way all the way to the left, but you could do just a little bit of backwards and forwards movement because of the shape of the cutter. It has a V cutter, so instead of your so basically the cutter's kind of like that shape. Okay, when the cutter's exactly like that shape and you've got this sharp edge here, it's pretty much made for going one direction. But if it's got a bit of a V on it, you can go a little bit of the other direction. So it just helps when you go in, like that. All the adjustments on the rest are pretty much the same. You've got your tip stop, your adjustment so that you can't cut into your cutter. Things along those lines are all fairly straightforward. Good little machine, solid. Weight on this one here, you'll probably be looking about 6 kilos. Okay, so now it's time to look at the US007. Now this model comes in 12 or 240 volt, and if you buy a 12 volt one, you can always use your additional battery pack, run it off a battery if you wish as well. Now this does have a handle like this which screws on the front here, but I haven't attached it because it's just a demo. Okay, so 2-sided jaws. The jaws, to change the jaws, you lift them up, you rotate them around, and you've got 2 jaws there. Each jaw has a slot in, only 1 slot on this side and only 1 slot on that side, so 2. The spacing between the jaws, you're looking about 80 mil, and the carriage travel is basically the travel. It travels from left to right, and then we measure that down there. So if I was to wind it all the way to that side, I could say I'm getting 43 mils of travel. Okay, shoulder and tip stops. So you have these ones here that just flip down. They're actually mounted onto the jaw there. I'll move it forward a bit. And then you have your shoulder guide here, which is just spring loaded, flicks up, flicks down, and you actually have to flick it out of the way and to sort of get it out of the way. You can cut into that too if you're not careful. If you've got it sort of up there, you can actually cut into it. Your tracer guide on this side, once again adjustable left and right. Safety stop here to stop you cutting into your jaws, that's there, and you also can adjust it in and out when your blade is worn or you're adjusting for a different blade. Everything's pretty straightforward. Power is just on the left here. There's no resetter, circuit breaker or anything like this. On 12 volt it just uses a fuse. And for rights, it's a very straightforward key machine, used a lot in the industry, everyone knows it. Let's go over jaw alignment, battery. We've done bench mounting. Bench mounting, there is two wing nuts on the side here, which you can mount a little bit of right angle, and that will allow you to mount it down on the bench. So looking at the key machine here, the size wise we haven't gone over. We're not doing these in order, are we? Okay, so we're looking at about 330, giving it a little bit of room. Back to front when it's on the bench, you'd probably be looking about 290 you'd at least need. And height wise, I'd be saying give it about 210 mil all round. So it's a good little key machine. One other thing I'll mention here is the travel on this worm drive to move the carriage, because it is a semi-automatic key machine. You're looking 18.5 turns, so it's a little bit slower. Certain locksmiths might like that more, certain locksmiths might like that less, might be a control issue, but that is the US007, and that's their logo there, plus minus times and divide sign. I believe it's made by House of Wu. Okay, next one. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the X-Source XC009. Now the first thing I noticed about this key machine is you do have four-way jaws. Once again, you just simply back them off, lift them up, rotate them round. Each of these jaws has 4 slots in them, allowing you to use tip stop or use them as a way of lining up your keys. Your shoulder guide here as well, you pull it in, you line up your shoulder on your key, and then you pull it back and it stays fixed in this section here. So it actually is spring-loaded when I go like that, and then when I pull it off to the side, it's into like a little milled section, so that is rock solid there. So when you're cutting, this can't actually get caught or touch the key cutter in any way. The tracer guide over here is adjustable from left to right. It's also adjustable in and out, so that's no problems there as well. It's got the handle on the back there, if you can see that there, so you can carry it. This machine is powered by a battery, and it does have 12 volt power on the side here, 12 to 18 volt. You can plug in with a 6.5 mil standard plug. Your power button is on the side here as well, if I can show you that. Okay, one other function here that none of the other key machines have is this one has a light here, so that's a very handy little option. Another little function that none of the other key machines have is this drive on the side. You have a knob that just comes out, so if you like to turn it by your hand you can, or if you want to do it by the actual knob, you can do it that way as well. So from left to right, amount of rotations, 1, 2, 2 and 3/4 rotations. The handle is on the front. It's a little bit more ergonomic and larger and bigger than the other one, so that's quite a good feature there as well. Amount of travel this carriage has is about 45 mil. That's from left to right, just the same as we did with the other key machines, left to right there. The jaw spacing here as well, if we look from jaws to jaw, we're looking about 95, which is a good amount of room for some of the larger keys, especially the flip keys. Overall size of this unit, if I was to sort of give it all, I'd be saying 400, back to front, 330, and height, I would give it 230. Now that gives it just a little bit of room for bench mounting, because you need a little bit of room around the machine. It can't be rubbing on things if you mount it into a vehicle. So you can mount this into a vehicle. It doesn't have a mounting position on the machine. There is no feet or anything that you can like do a right angle. So you just have to take the feet off, make up a little right angle plate, and then put the feet back and do it that way. We have a charge indicator down here on the bottom, which is very good as well. Turn it on. So we're on 3/4 of a charge. Duration of the battery. Now this battery here, I've been told it's cut 100 keys already and it hasn't been charged once. It's a brand new machine, and the owner of the machine tells me that the battery life is outstanding. When we go back to the GL320, I believe the life was about 50 keys or so. So it's comparative. I have also heard references about this machine that the batteries are a bit of an issue, all of which are unconfirmed. So leave your comment down below in the comment section what you think and how the battery life has treated you and how many keys you get out of it. The other safety function here is this one here to stop you being able to cut into your jaws. So that's a cool little function. The quality of the build, the finish is awesome. The plastic and all the rest looks very sexy. The handle on the back makes it very easy to sort of move around when you want to go from one van to the next. The handle as well is a lot more comfortable with finger grooves underneath the handle, so when you grab it, you've got a place for your thumb and it's comfy, it's large, you got a lot of control over it. Not that you're using the control as a manual one to move left and right. It's mainly just to come up into the cut, rotate it with the knob. So that's just a lifting type of action. I can feel a bit of cushion on the handle as well, so it does feel very, very well built, I must say. The knobs on the top are just the same as all the other knobs. You just turn them. They feel good. They feel like real strong rubber. As far as everything else on the machine, there's not really a lot to say, apart, that the other key machines don't have. So we'll go over the specs now, and leave your comments down below. Price wise, it's pretty much about the same as the rest of them. A lot of people are looking towards these battery powered key machines because you can charge it in your car when you're actually driving, and when you get to a job you can cut maybe 50, 100 keys, and that won't be taking away from your car battery. You're doing that all on this battery, and I guess worst case scenario, if that battery was dead, you could probably run it straight through off the car. That I haven't tried, but most likely you should be able to. So that's a very interesting concept, and I guess it's good to keep your car battery alive if you're not using the inverter in your vehicle. The quality of these parts here seem great. There's a little screw on the side here to back that off, adjust it, tighten it up in case you're changing your cutter. The actual cutter on it is one direction, so you would start off all the way to the right, put your key in and work your way to the left like so. This cutter here is a straight cutter. It doesn't have the ability to go left and right. Some of the other cutters like the GL, you can cut into it and it's slightly angled. Well, it's a V cutter, but it's more towards one side than the other, so you do it just like normally, go all the way through, but you can come back. On this machine you've got to start from one side, come through, bring carriage down and go over it again. So good little machine. Let's go over the specs and let's see what the difference is.
The GL320 first, and the first thing, we're going to do all the same things for all the other ones, okay? So size we've got 320 left to right, 220 front to back, and height 240. The power, once again, 12 and 24 volt. There is a model that does come out with a battery pack as well attached, very similar to the XC009, but a lot of people can simply come up with their own power, and power pack hasn't really been an issue. So this machine, although it does have it, it's not the most popular model with the battery pack. Four-way jaws, just like the 009 does. The 007 has the two-way jaws. Jaw spacing, so for those flip keys and things, you're looking 98mm, which is quite good. Carrage travel, so if you wind the jaw all the way to the left and you turn the knob and feed it all the way to the right, you get 40mm of cutting room. Turns, you get three quarters of a turn, so you don't even turn that knob one whole turn to turn the carriage from left and right. Cutter direction, you can go left and right. It's mainly designed for where you bring the cradle all the way to the right and you move to the left, but you can do a little bit of backwards forwards there just to cut those little, just finalize your valleys. Tip stops, yes, it's got tip stops, shoulder stops, it's got all that. Jaw alignment, what we mean by that is just those slots in the actual jaw. On this particular model here, the four-way jaws actually have slots in them, and there's 6 slots in total. Battery duration, the model that does have a battery, I'm not too sure how successful it was, and we didn't get a lot of feedback or reviews, but I believe it was under 100 keys, so that's the feedback we've got. Okay, bench mount, no bench mount for this one, costing about $1,100, so they're all pretty much of a muchness. Some cool bits about this particular type of machine, one of them which is it has a buffing wheel. None of the other key machines have a buffing wheel. That's a little handy accessory just there on the side. The next one is on the 240 model, it has a little circuit breaker on the front, so if you go too hard in your key and rather than stress the motor or anything, you've got a little circuit breaker you can just push back in. The next cool feature is the cutter being able to go that little bit left and right just to finalize those keys. And that is the specs on the GL320. Let's go over the sizes once again so we can see all that. Size is 330 left to right, back to front 290, and height 210. That's a rough estimate to give you a little bit of room. This machine only comes in 12 and 24 volt, but once again, if you use a 12 volt, you can either use a power pack or you could hook it up to one of those battery packs as well and get key cutting for that. The motor is only a small motor, so you would be able to get quite a number of keys from that. The jaws are two-sided jaws. You basically only have those two options. On saying that too, it's been in the industry for a lot of years and a lot of people have found that sufficient to do exactly what they want to do. The jaw spacing, so from each post there you're looking 80mm between, so not as much room for some of those flip out longer automotive keys if that's what you're interested in. Carrage travel, you're looking about, so that's actually wrong, it's 18 revolutions to turn that rounded crank to 1 revolution is that little white piece going around in a 360, and you need to turn that about 18.5 turns to get the carriage from one position to the next position. So that's a little bit of an error there. Carriage drive is 43 mil. If you were to wind the carriage all the way left and bring it all the way to the right, you'd be getting 43 mil. So it's about the standard as the average. So it's a standard compared to the others. They all have about the same amount of cutting room. The Carrage Travel, which really should have been 18.5. I just want to say that's the most amount of turns out of all of the machines. GL320 is doing it in under 1 revolution, and the 009 is doing it in only a couple of revolutions. So you're really a lot slower on this type of machine. Some people like it, some people don't. Shoulder and tip stops. Yes, you've got these little metal right bits of angle there. They're actually attached to the actual jaw, and you've got it on both sides, plus you've got your shoulder guide that flips up as well. Some people like them as well because it means you don't lose your little tip stop. It's already built into the jaw. One alignment, so there's only one groove on the jaw, and I've never really used that, but it is there. Battery duration not applicable. Bench mount, now they do have little 90-degree angles that come with the machine, so you can bench mount it with the butterfly clips. That's something the other two key machines don't have. $1,200 is pretty much the exact same price as all the rest, so it's right in the market. The cool bits to note about this key machine, the first one is these little tip stop is actually mounted on the jaw, so you don't have to fumble for that piece of metal. It's already mounted there. Some people would call that a cool bit. The other thing is the bench mounting. Straight out of the box, it can be bench mounted on with, and the plates are included, so that could be considered a cool bit. Now, with the actual feed of the machine, 18.5 turns to get the carriage from left to right, that seems a little bit slow, but you've got to remember, for some people who are perhaps cutting a broken key or gauging or jumping over a cut, that might be considered a cool bit as well. A new machine that's coming to the market, and one we'll probably see quite a bit of. All right, so let's go over the sizes here. So we've got 400 left to right, 330 front to back, and 230, that is a typo, from bottom to top, or in height. So ignore that typo. Power pack comes with a 240 volt power pack, allowing you to supply the machine with 12 volt to charge the battery, and also to use the machine if you wish to keep it constantly powered in that formation. On the side of the machine is a 6.5mm circular plug with center positive, very common, and you can power it off your car because it can accept 12 to 18 volt. So even if your car's pushing out 13 volt, which a lot of them are, that'll be just fine to charge this up, so you can charge it off your cigarette lighter or while you drive. The jaws, 4-way sided jaws, which are very good. You can see those little happy indentations there for your fingers to get in, loosen the jaw off, get your fingers in there, lift it up and rotate it round. The spacing from each jaw is 95mm, so that's really good for automotive keys, which now have the flick out keys. Also, some people like their domestic keys and they have them in like a flick out scenario as well, so it just helps if you don't have to dismantle anything, and you can get those keys in there nice and easy. The Carrage Travel is the amount of cutting room, so that's 45mm, so that's quite standard. So as all the other machines, if you wind the jaw all the way to the left and you rotate all the way to the right, the Travel would be 45mm. Carriage drive, so I counted 2 3/4 turns. If you were to put a mark on the 12 o'clock position on the knob on the right hand side and rotate it, you would rotate it 2 times, and then you would almost get to a third rotation, and that would wind the whole carriage left and right. So cutter direction, there's another typo there, it should be right to left. You would wind the carriage all the way to the right, lift up, start cutting your key, and move the carriage to the left, bring it down, bring the carriage all the way right again, lift back up into the key where the meat is that you're cutting, and go back in that direction. So almost like an anti-clockwise direction. You cannot go backwards and forwards on the cuts because the cutter is just the same as the US007. It's a straight cutter angled on one side. The GL320 had a cutter where it allowed you to go slightly in the other direction. Shoulder and tip stops, yes, it has that. It has the flick down tip stop, so it has a flick down shoulder stop just like the GL320, and as far as tip stops, it doesn't have any fitted to the jaws, but it does have multiple slots, just like the GL does. Key jaw alignment. So on the machine that we were looking at on the bench, it had 16 slots, and these are the slots around the jaw, these vertical lines. In this picture here, you can only see 2 on each side. The one that we had on the bench had 16 slots, so that's 4 on each side. Battery duration, the owner of this machine was claiming 100 keys plus, and he hasn't had to charge it. I have heard other people with this particular machine complain about the batteries. I don't know of the battery makeup or how good they are, if they get battery effects, if they're reliable, faulty or not, or if it can be removed in the event that it plays up and you just want to run the machine off 12 volt. All of these things are unconfirmed, and you're welcome to leave your comments down below if you know anything about that. Bench mounting, no bench mounting. I feel this was another thing that let this machine down. It would have been nice to just have a couple of tapped screw threads on the side with a couple of little brackets. Definitely would have made it, you know, for such a simple and barbaric way of mounting it, it was something that I believe they definitely should have thrown in. Cost-wise, you're about the same cost as a lot of the other machines. In fact, it's a little bit cheaper than the GL320 with the battery pack fitted. So it is very, very competitive, I must say. The cool bits about this machine, and which I've picked out, first of all, is a battery indicator on the front, which is very good. The GL320 battery powered machine also has that as well, but it's at the front, it's nicely displayed, so I put it down as a cool bit. The shoulder guide now, the flick up and flick down shoulder guide. Now when you flick it down, it actually flicks down into like a stick out position. So you could say like at the 3 o'clock, if you were looking at a clock and the jaws were on your left, the shoulder guide would come to rest at the 3 o'clock position, and it's got a little milled section there where it just, as you rotate it, it spring loads and falls into and holds in there very nicely engineered, that shoulder guide there. And also you can't hit the cutter when it's when you've lowered it, and even though it sticks out at the front of the jaws, you still can't hit the cutter with it, which I thought was a good design feature. The handle on the back of the machine is another good design feature as well. Because it is a small portable and it's battery powered, they put a handle on it, and the handle isn't protrusive, it's at the back and allows you to move the machine around very quick and easily without the machine getting kind of knocked around. If you're carrying a battery powered machine and there's nothing to hang on to, you're hanging on to like the shroud that holds the cutter or something. If the machine was to turn on, it wouldn't be too nice. The other way you hold it is by hanging onto the handle off the jaw, off the cradle off the front, and that's not really a nice way to treat the machine. So I believe the handle is a cool feature that none of the other machines have, which is well worth noting. The LED light is something we're definitely going to see in the future. Absolute cool feature. You need light when you use key machines. On my vans, I've even put in little snake lights to bend around the machine so you can get that bit of light when loading jaws. And by having it on the side there and the button on the side is really cool, because if you don't get those keys in straight, you're not going to be able to get a good key copy at all. The next cool feature I want to note is the knob on the side. Although this is a metal, nicely shaped handle that is about 50 to 60 mil, and it fits in your hand quite nicely. Inside there is a little fold out rotating knob, which gives you extra travel, probably at about 80, which basically turns the knob into, instead of being a 50 or 60, makes it into about an 80 mil size handle in diameter. So it can speed up the process a little. So if you want to go slow, you use a knob. You want to go even faster, you flick that little part out. It has a post on there, which is like a roll bearing type of thing, and allows you to go even faster than what you're normally going just by turning it by hand. And I think that's all the cool features.
Okay, just in conclusion, we'll finish off on this machine here. We've seen the other two machines. I've done plenty of reviews, plenty of demonstrations on them. So just in conclusion here, this is the new machine out there on the market by Exhaust, the XC009. The other two we do sell on our website, drlock.com.au. Just go to shop, go to machines. This machine we don't actually sell. If Exhaust, if you'd like us to start selling them, please send me an email. I've sent you multiple emails and received no response, so we don't actually sell this machine. But all in all, when I look at this machine, I'm happy with the machine. I like the way it is. Even the little rubber stop underneath here to cushion that. I like what I see. I like the finish of it. I like the design of it. It's very user friendly, and you know, even the knob on the side, I like the way that moves around. The amount of rotations is good. Not too quick, not too slow. Nice and easy to operate. The light is an absolute bonus. It's a shame a lot of other machines don't come out with that as well. The design of it, the way it's made, the way it's molded, all the buttons on the right side as well, so it's nice and easy, it's out of the way. That 6.5mm plug's mounted in, so you don't sort of using a cable coming out of the machine. That's really good as well. Some labelling, they've even put the stickers on. Power 12, 18 volt, lock, unlock, little arrows to tell you which way to go on that as well. So I think it's a very fair machine. I think it's a very nice machine. I think we'll probably see a few more of these out there on the market, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else they're going to bring out, because we've been using the 007 and the GL for a lot of years now, and now that this is out there, I think a few locksmiths might actually start considering this machine over those other two. The jaws and the carriage are definitely I feel sort of superior than the other ones, mainly because of the grooves, the handle, and things along those lines. If you've got comments about this machine, feel free to leave them down in the comment section down below. We're always happy to see comments from other people and what they think. Price wise, they're all looking about the same by the time you get it over and imported and all those sorts of things. So leave your comments down below, and thanks for watching.